Hello everyone, this is Dr. Shilpi Khandelwal, Professor in Management, Jagannath University, Jaipur. Today I am going to talk about a very important economic concept, that is demand. So first we will try to understand what is demand. So as per the definition, demand is the quantity of a commodity that consumers are willing and able to buy at a given price at in a specified time period. So basically if you look at the definition, there are 4 keywords in the definition of demand. First, there should be willingness to buy that product. Second, there should be ability to buy that product. By ability, we mean that the person or the consumer should be having the purchasing power to purchase that product. Third is at a given price, because as the price changes, the demand for a product changes, and the time period, you demand the products according to the different times. Types of demand. The first is direct and derived demand. Direct demand are the demand for those products which you demand directly from the market. That is the demand for the finished products, like you purchase a pen from the market, a calculator from a market, copy from the markets. This is called as direct demand. As far as derived demand is concerned, it is the demand for the product whose demand depends on some demand of some other products, like the demand for wood, graphite depends on the demand of pencil. So basically pencil is the final product, but the demand for the wood and the demand for the graphite depends on the demand of pencil. So this is called as derived demand. Basically in the simple language we can say the demand for raw materials or any kind of intermediate goods or any kind of machinery is derived demand. Then individual and market demand. If we look at the demand from an individual perspective, individual unit, in that case it is called as individual demand. The demand of the product, the consumer's willingness and ability to purchase of a single consumer, then it is called as individual demand. Market demand, the total of all the demands, that means the total product demanded by all the consumers at a specified time, at a specified price. Recurring and replacement demand, the demand for the products which you demand continuously in a very frequent intervals, like the demand for tea, the demand for sugar, the demand for wheat, these are called as recurring demand. Replacement demand are the demands for the consumer durables, like you demand refrigerator only when you feel that your old refrigerator is outdated or it has some problem in it. Then complementary and competing demands. Complementary demands are the demand for those products whose demands go together, like the demand for car and petrol is a complementary demand. If you have a car, then the demand for petrol will automatically arise. Bread and butter, they are called as complementary products. Competing demand is the demand which moves against each other, like the demand for the substitute product. Tea and coffee, they are called as substitute of each other. If you are demanding tea, you would not be demanding coffee at the same time, and if you are demanding coffee, you would not be demanding tea at the same time. So these demands are called as competing demands. New and replacement demand, when a demand arises for the very first time, it is called as new demand. Like for the very first time you are purchasing a car, then it is called as new demand. Replacement, when you want to replace your old car with the new one, then it is called as replacement demand. Okay, so determinants of individual demand. As I have told you, individual demand means what are the factors which are determining the demand of an individual consumer. So these are the factors which determines the demand for individual consumers. The first and foremost factor which comes here is the price of the given product. The first thing which comes to your mind when you see the demand is whenever you go to the market and purchase any product, the first thing you ask, what is the price? So that means price is a very important factor in determining the demand of a product. So price directly affects the demand of a product. Second is income of the consumer. It is but obvious that by the definition of the demand, I have said that demand means the willingness and ability to pay for it. The ability is backed by the purchasing power, and purchasing power comes from your income. So as your income rises, the demand for the product and services rises. As your income goes down, the demand for services and products goes down also. So income of the consumer also affects demand. Price of the related products or related goods. I have told you there are two kind of products. One is substitute products and another is complementary products. So substitute goods are those goods whose demands goes opposite with each other, like tea and coffee. So if the demand for tea rises, the demand for coffee falls, and if the demand for coffee rises, the demand for tea falls. Complementary products or complementary goods, the demands for the products which go together, like car and petrol, if the demand for car rises, the demand for petrol also rises. Taste and preference. See, the individual consumer decides to buy or willing to buy a product according to his or her own taste and preferences. So basically, taste and preferences of a consumer is also one of the deciding factor in determining the demand of a product. Next is advertising. See, so many companies are spending a huge amount of their budget on the advertising. And what is the assumption behind spending so much on advertising is that advertising induces sales of the product. And how it induces sale of the product? Because it actually induces a consumer to buy that product, means it actually generates the willingness to purchase that product. So here advertising is a very important factor in inducing the willingness to purchase the product. So advertising also determines the demand of a product. Last is consumers' expectation of future income and price. So consumers' expectation of future income and price also affects the demand of a product. I like to give you an example. If you are going to purchase some jewelry of gold today, and you got to know that in the future the prices of the gold may fall, then in that case you postpone your demand for gold today, and in an expectation that in future the prices of the gold may fall down. So the future expectation also determines your current status of demand. Likewise, future income, if you got to know that in the coming month your salary will be more, or you will getting an extra bonus on your salary, in that case also your demand for the product rises today. So future expectation also determines what kind of demand you are doing today. Determinants of market demand means the total demand, the aggregate demand of the product in the market, the product demanded by all the consumers in the market. It is determined by these factors. One is the growth of economy. When we say economic growth means the overall prosperity of the nation is increasing. The overall prosperity is determined by the employment conditions, income levels, standard of living. And when we say employment is increasing, income levels are increasing, and standard of living is increasing, that means more product and services are being consumed by the people of that nation. So economic growth means the market demand will rise. Second is seasonal conditions. When we say seasonal conditions, some products are of seasonal nature. Some products are demanded in a particular season more than in the other season, like ice cream. Ice cream is being demanded in summer season more than winters, and in winters you say woolen clothes are being demanded in winter more than in summer. So seasonal conditions also determines the demand of a product. Third is population. The more the number of people are there, the more will be the demand. The less the number of people, the less will be the demand. So it is a direct relationship. Distribution of income and wealth. As far as distribution of income and wealth is considered, if in any economy the distribution of income and wealth is evenly distributed throughout the people of that particular economy, in that case the people will demand more. And otherwise, if it is distributed unevenly, means some people are having more share of the economic resources and majority of the population is having less share of economic resources. In that case, the demand will be less, because the demand will be of the product and services, or the affordability will be only for those small section of people who are having more control over the economic resources. So basically, distribution of income and wealth will also determine what level of demand would be prevailing in that particular market. Demand schedule. Demand schedule means if you say that the most important factor in determining the individual demand is price. So if I prepare a table, in that case taking one price and demand, quantity demanded, and if I prepare a table of that, that is called as demand schedule, like this: price vis-a-vis quantity demanded. So this is called as demand schedule. In a very simple language, tabular representation of the demand and price. If the table which I have shown here, if this is plotted mathematically in a graphical form, then it would be like this. Okay, the geometrical representation of demand schedule taking quantity demanded on x-axis and price on y-axis and plotting the same points on this graph A, B, C and D and joining them by a line is called as demand curve. Demand function, if we would like to represent demand and its relationship with the determinants mathematically, then it comes at the demand is the function of price of the product, income of the consumer, price of the related product, taste and preference, advertising, number of consumers. So if we show this relationship in a mathematical form, it is called as demand function. Now, law of demand. The law of demand states that keeping all other things constant, if the price of a product rises, the quantity demanded falls, and if the price of a product falls, the quantity demanded rises. So that means there is an inverse relationship between the price and the quantity demanded. When the price goes up, the quantity demanded goes down, and when the price goes down, the quantity demanded goes up. This is law of demand, but here is one condition, that all other factors determining the demand should be constant, equal, or should remain same at that time. So if we want to observe this law, then in that case only the price should be a changing variable, and all other variables determining the demand should be kept constant, equal, or same at that time. So the relationship says that if the price goes up, the quantity demanded goes down, and if the price goes down, the quantity demanded goes up. That means there is an inverse relationship between the price and the quantity demanded. If we want to show this in terms of the demand schedule and demand curve, you can easily see when the price is rising from 10 to 20 to 30 to 40, the quantity demanded is falling from 100 to 80 to 60 and to 20. And if we plot this on this graph, taking quantity demanded on x-axis and the price on y-axis, then the curve will be like this. It is downward sloping demand curve. The demand curve is always downward sloping. It is coming from upwards to downwards. Why it is working? It is the law of demand operates because of the two reasons. One is the income effect, another is the substitution effect. Income effect, I would like to explain it in an example. For example, you are a salaried person and you have allocated 100 rupees for purchasing 10 kgs of sugar in a month. Suppose if the price of the sugar rises from 10 rupees to 11 rupees, then in that case, if your income doesn't change, so you have only 100 rupees to spend on the sugar. In that case, you would not be able to purchase 10 kg of sugar this time. You would only be able to purchase 9 kgs of sugar this time. So this shows that earlier you were able to purchase at the rate of 10 rupees per kg. You are able to purchase 10 kg sugar in 100 rupees. Now, with the increased price, when the price changes from 10 to 11, you are able to purchase only 9 kgs of sugar. So this is how the law of demand operates, because the income doesn't change. Second is substitution effect. When a price of the product rises, so you look for its close substitute. For example, if the price of the tea rises, you look for its close substitute, that is coffee, and you shift your demand from tea to coffee. So in that case, the demand for coffee rises, but the demand for tea falls. Vice versa, it is also true. If the price of the tea falls, then many coffee lovers will shift to tea, and the people will demand more tea, and the demand for tea rises. So because of these two effects, the law of demand operates. Assumptions, as I have told you, keeping price aside, all other factors should remain constant, or there should be no change, or they should be same at all times. So in that case, what are the assumptions of the law of demand? That there should be no change in the income of the consumers, tastes and preferences, there should be no change, there should be no change in the price of the other and related goods, there should be no change in the size of the population, there should be no change in any kind of future expectation related to the income or related to the prices, there should be no change in the distribution of wealth, there should be no change in the seasonal conditions, and last, there should be no change in other kind of governmental policies which may affect the demand. Exceptions to the law of demand. There are some exceptions to the law of demand that in some conditions the law of demand will not operate. So what are those conditions in which law of demand doesn't operate? First is necessity items, the goods which are of necessity. In that case, even if the price rises, the consumer will continue to consume those goods. So in that case, the law of demand will not be operating, like sugar, tea, general usage items. It will not be affected by the increasing prices. Second is Giffen paradox. Robert Giffen has observed that the people who are having lower incomes or low wages, basically their main diet or their staple diet is bread. So when the price of their bread rises, they actually consume more of the bread, shifting from their consumption from the expensive items like meat. So this is called as Giffen paradox, which says that in case of the Giffen goods, which the term has been given by Sir Robert Giffen, that Giffen goods, in that case, if the price rises, the demand will also rise. Third is the goods which are of prestige or which are of status symbol. In that case, for example, a very expensive jewelry item. In that case, if the price of that jewelry item rises, I was purchasing that item because it shows my status, it shows my prestige in the society. So if the price rises, then also I will purchase it because now it is showing depicting my status and prestige more in society. So in those goods, the law of demand will not operate. Then expectation of future change in prices. See, sometimes it happens that the price of a product rises, then as per the law of demand, the quantity demanded should fall. But if you have future expectation that the price will increase further in the future, in that case you will demand more today, right? Like I have given you an example of if you are going to purchase any gold item today and you go to the market and you are trying to purchase it, a very small ring today, and then you got to know in the future the price of the gold may increase more. So then you can purchase more of that item because you know that in future the price will further rise. Ignorance of the consumer. Sometimes people purchases some products because of the some or other kind of psychological or the ignorance they are having. So basically what will happen when you associated price with quality, right? You say if the product is of higher price, then it may mean that the product will also be of higher quality. In that case, if you establish that association in your mind, in that case the law of demand will not operate. And last is the goods or the products which are of having emergency nature. For example, medicines. In that case, even if the price rises, you will purchase that product. Or during the emergency times like war, famine or curfew times, even if the price rises, the quantity demanded will not fall. The last concept which I am going to take in today's session is change in demand versus change in quantity demanded. Change in demand and change in quantity demanded are two different things. When I say change in demand, it means the overall market demand of that product is changing from one place to another place. Like if the demand curve changes, shifts from upwards or downwards, then it is called as change in demand, and it is due to non-price factors, means the factors other than price. If the demand for the product is changing due to other factors like income of the consumer or the future expectation, taste and preference, then the demand curve will shift upwards or downwards. Then it is called as change in demand. Then second is change in quantity demanded. Change in quantity demanded is due to price. If you see this demand curve, if the demand of a product changes from A to B or B to A, then it is alongside the demand curve, then it is called as change in quantity demanded, and it is due to price. So, I want to conclude my session today that what we have learned today is what is demand, what are the determinants of demand, different factors which are affecting demand. We have gone through all the factors of the demand like price of the product, price of the related product, income of the consumer, taste and preference, advertising. So many factors we have seen in the individual demand as well as market demand like population, size of the population, growth of the economy and all other factors. Law of demand, we have seen the relationship between the price and the quantity demanded, and it states that there is an inverse relationship between the price and quantity demanded. So this is all for today. We will continue other topics in the next session. Thank you. Is because of the limited resources, and he said that there are three basic economic problems: what to produce, how to produce and for whom to produce. What to produce means the societies or the nations or the people have to decide the various combination of the goods and services that has to be produced with the limited resources. So basically what to produce from those limited resources, what combination of goods and services are going to be produced from those limited resources is deciding what to produce.